Yeah. Hello. We're glad to see you at our second webinar. Please, Bala.
Okay, so hello and good afternoon, everyone from India, and good morning to you, Professor Dmitry. Thanks for joining in. Thanks, Siddharth, for joining in also. We are very happy to be here at webinar live session number 2. This course is new of a, it's a different sort of a course compared to typical courses that you probably have seen on NPTEL, in the fact that this is about understanding how technology works inside a business context. So that's the big message in this course itself, the entire duration of the course. So for that, the first week you saw us introduce this course to you, setting up the business context and understanding where the technology decisions matter. You probably saw the videos of week 1, and here we are. The reason we want to have this at a frequent interval in this course at this juncture is that because we know there'll be a lot more questions at this juncture, because it's just being introduced to, we want to take it slow, but also tell you that we are there to clarify any questions that you may have, any things that are unclear. Feel free to let us know via the discussion forum. Three of us look at it at very frequent intervals, and also this is another great way to get immediate answer to some of the queries, some of your comments, some of the things that are unclear to you, because we think we have done our best to communicate what we have in our mind, but it's up to you to tell us whether you've received the message that we are trying to communicate. So the recipient is as important as the message giver. So
Yeah.
with much further ado, Professor Dimitri, would you like to share some comments
Yeah,
or something that?
I would like to, with all participants of our course, I would like to apologize because when you watch the video, you can see that we built these videos in a condition when we had no access to the studio, special studio. In fact, everything we are doing in a condition of lockdown. And when it was locked down in India, we had a not so heavy situation in France, and vice versa. Today we are approaching probably third lockdown in Europe, but we are still operating, and it's thanks to you that you excuse all the roughness of our video, because sometimes you can see our exchange technical things. Sometimes it's not so smooth, but with the patience and with your goodwill, we are going forward, and we believe that things that we are sharing with you will be useful for your practice and for your capacity to forecast and take right strategic decision. So, Bala, your part.
Okay, so what we'd like to start off with is I would like to start off the today's session with a small presentation, so to speak, on functions, because the heart of understanding technology is meant for a purpose, and this purpose, this reason why this piece of technology exists, is because it addresses a certain function. So we'd like to clarify that aspect of this course in a bit more detail, and for that I would like to show you some what I understand as, and Professor Dimitri of course can join in anytime. I will just show this. Yeah, I'll share my screen and I will start my presentation on function. So function is, let's go to the dictionary to get our English meaning of that. Is function is, as we define, is a set of actions. It's a group of related actions contributing to a larger action. This is what Merriam-Webster's tells us, is that it's a group of related actions contributing to a larger action. So this is what function means. And in our case, we are talking about the larger action as the system itself. So the system is the larger action where things are pointed to, and all the little things that go on that make up what needs to go into the system are the function itself. So that's our big basic definition. um, I'd like to point out some examples from the format handbook. One of our videos talks about format, the project. Format stands for forecasting and road mapping for manufacturing technologies. It's a European Union it was a European Union funded project where Professor Dmitry and I met and we worked on this project. And one example given on the website, I this is in it uses in the, let's say, food industry, so to speak, or even in a kitchen you can find this appliance, and this is given as an example. So what you see on the left hand side of this particular diagram, this is called a function diagram, is are the inputs to this particular system. Okay, so the input of this particular input to this particular system is what is given in the left, and it is given to the system, and it performs a certain function. Okay, grilled and baked food. Okay, the oven, a domestic oven, a microwave oven also works on the similar principle, that you given raw food, something that you want to process using this oven. Okay, and out comes the grilled and baked food. Okay, so how do we actually write down the function? That is the most important. Every piece of technology is for a certain function, a certain larger action as we defined it. So this is the formula that we use. You will see that I will show you a generic formula in the next slide. But for this particular device, domestic oven, it makes grilled and baked food. Okay, so that's the actual function of this particular device itself. So domestic oven makes grilled and baked food. It's very simplistic, but it tells you what the oven actually does, right? Let's take another example of a mixer. Okay, a mixer where you can let's say crush some fruits, pieces, milk, and ice. I know it's the wrong climate to tell you this. This is peak winter in most places in the northern hemisphere. So, but still, I love ice cream, so I'm going to, or in smoothies, so I'm going to tell you about this one as well. This is also about food. Um, in the left hand side, like in the previous diagram, we have fruit pieces, milk, and ice, which go into the mixer, and out comes a creamy smoothie. Okay, smoothie is a churned, mixed, and chopped and liquidated drink, health drink sometimes, but if you want to make it with ice cream, you can make it with ice cream as well. Here, if you write down the function, the mixer makes creamy smoothies. Okay, so it has a noun, what does the function, and makes is the verb that is the actual what you're going to do. It's very simplistic sort of function definition. And creamy smoothies is the output that comes out. Okay, so this is the definition given in our handbook format handbook. You can go check this out in format website. Okay, so generically speaking, like I promised, the generic function of a system can be written as the system makes, produces, and the list goes on. Okay, this is just one or two things that we have talked about, but it could be many things, as you probably see in the videos. Also, is the system makes or produces, there's a verb, and the outcome comes the actual, what is the reason we have this, what is the output of the system itself. So this is going to be the function itself. So for every technology forecasting project that we start, anything that we work on, we need to know why is the system there, what, so to it has to answer. So you have to keep in mind whenever you are coming up with a system, these are few things, I'm sorry, a function definition. You have to keep these two things in mind. One is the entities the system interacts with to achieve the results. the system has been designed for. Okay, and for me, this is handy definition. What is the system for? Why do you need the system? If that is the answer to that is X in the format that you saw, that tells you the function of the system itself. Okay, so now with this, armed with this, you can check out those two videos. There is one which is out there on YouTube, and the other one we have recorded ourselves, where there's a mini quiz of sorts where you can check that out as well. So what is the system for? Keep this in mind. Function definition will be very straightforward. Okay, so that's a bit about what I wanted to convey in this, because I always, when I was starting out, found this to be a bit tricky for me to handle. What is this function that people keep talking about in technology forecasting? It wasn't so easy. So when I came across this, it really clarified a lot of things, and these examples helped me. So as a learner who has come across the first time you're coming across this technology forecasting, this may be helpful for you. Okay, so over to you, Professor Dmitry, if you want to add something. This is
Yeah,
something that I picked it up from you.
yeah, thank you very much, Bala, to introduce you to introduce us. How do we define function? But why it is important in context of technology forecasting to make absolutely clear statement about the function? Because in fact, if we are talking about mixer to make our ice cream, in fact, we don't need mixer. What we need smashed products. Okay, so in fact, the very basic idea that lies behind that we don't need a technical system, what we need the function. And if we know the function, if we fix the function, we can predict the future. Future means in order to perform this functionality. So that's why we start definition of our system from the function. In our forum, you can find some links to the videos that we took from other course about system thinking, how function is important in a system thinking and how we can do it. I'd like just to invite you to look through the forum, and you can find in a section when we share our links that how function is important, because this is something that define the boundaries of the system very clearly. One interesting thing, even the technical system are changing. The function normally is not going to be changed. Look, for instance, for listening music. Okay, in the past we used a recording music device like vinyl. Okay, after that it was substituted by magnetic tape. Later on, we started to use a CD-ROM. This is absolutely another technology, but the function is still the same. We listen recorded music. Later on, we started to download music, and today we are streaming music in order to listen to it. But all those different technological solutions, they satisfy the same function: listening recorded music. So that's why, for your practical use, we suggest you to always make clear statement what is a function of the system that you try to predict the future of the system. If you are talking about personal mobility devices, like scooter or like car or like bicycle, you need first to define the function of the system as specific as possible. You are going to use this device to go to which distance, in which condition, but what you are going to perform as a function. Thank you. Thank you very much for presenting the function. And of course, if you have the question about how to define function more properly, we are going to share this knowledge with you. In my case, I'd like to I'd like to use the opportunity of this webinar today to share with you some useful books that I believe that will be very useful for your practice of forecasting. And I would like to start with a book that I learned a lot of things from. Okay, and this book, the first version of this book was published more than 20 years ago. It was named Prediction, Society Telltale Signature, Reveals the Past and Forecasts the Future, from very interesting thinker, from Theodore Modis. And in this book, that you can find this book and other books of this author using this link. But why it is particularly interesting in border of our course, and how can you profit from it? Okay. The first of all, in this book, the very hard questions are answered. Like, is it possible to predict such a question, how long one will live? Or can we forecast the future trends of energy consumption? Can we foresee the course of all disease using scientific way of prediction? It means quantitative way. How the fluctuation of world's economy occur at regular and predictable intervals. Very interesting that in this book you have plenty of examples which are very well explained, and you understand properly what kind of models are used in order to answer such a question. In fact, the main model that author used in this book, this is a logistic S-curve. You can see plenty of examples of extrapolation using simple logistic curve model. And what is interesting, that the model is simple by itself, but the predicting power of this model is very well illustrated and very well explained in this book. And what is interesting to see that, in fact, I will show the next slide. I will share with you the history of these books. But what is interesting that many predictions which were made in border of this book using this simple model today become true. Like prediction about AIDS, like prediction about decline of criminality, the scarcity of nuclear plant accident, and the rise of car speed limits in the United States, and other predictions, which you can find among many examples in this book. What is a particular with this book, and I've not seen it so often in the books which dedicate to technology forecasting, that this book regularly updated. The author, for instance, when he published the book 1992, he, in the next edition of this book that was published 10 years later, in 22, he looked what kind of deviation from the model that he suggested prediction was observed, what were the mistakes of forecast, and how they can be improved. You know, it's kind of self-criticizing, self-edition of forecast, which in fact, in my case, the first book that I took in my hand, this was the book which was published in 2002. Immediately, I bought the first version in order to compare, and it was very interesting to see the rigorous scientific approach of the author to understand why sometimes models work perfectly and why sometimes we have some deviations. And the modern version of the book, An S-Shaped Adventure, this is in fact 20 years later, update of the very first book, where the author not only discuss about all the prediction, but he add also additional chapter, like about singularity. He looked at the singularity phenomena from rigorous scientific approach, because by himself, he comes from the hard science domain. He was a physicist, but after that, he had experience to work in a digital equipment company. And this is very interesting way and very interesting ideas that author tried to share with us in these books. It is very exceptional for the books about forecasting that you can see update of the version within the 30 years. In this case, you can understand not only new ideas about future of technologies, but also to get the methodological question. Because the main objective of our course is to share with you methodology to forecast. A new way of understanding society and ourselves by applying scientific concept of prediction. This is a main idea, if you like, the red line of those books about how to use logistic S-curve for the forecasting. In the appendix of these books, you can find mathematical explanation of logistic S-curve, very rigorous, very detailed, very well explained pedagogically. What is interesting also to see that the same author, he suggested, for your attention, for instance, I recommend you this book, which was published in 2013. You can find it at Amazon, or you can find it directly on the website of the author. The website link you have seen on the first slide of my presentation. But what is also interesting for your attention, and the book which continue, it's not just study and it's not just new edition of what was published in 20 years. It's extension. This is extension, natural laws in the service of decision makers, which is also a very interesting book where you can find more detailed explanation about seasons in business that we used in border of our course, where you can find the step-by-step procedure, how to identify in which season your company or your technology is. New examples and other examples about logistic substitution, how technology substitute each other, which is, for me, it's kind of handbook. It's a kind of handbook that if you are interested about a subject, you can open the needed chapter and you can learn how to act. So I highly recommend you in board of our course about strategic decision, strategic forecasting for strategic decision making, these two books. And as I already said, you can find them directly from the author's website, or you can find them at Amazon. It's up to you. Probably you can find them in the library, because in board of our university, we have those books in the library also. I suggest for universities to take these books in library in order to have access to them. One of the ideas that I learned, and I do appreciate from Mr. Modis, that whatever methodology you use, the ultimate taste of the forecaster, and you supposed to be forecaster because you participate our course, this is an accurate and reliable forecast. The first we need to prove that our forecast is reliable. And what kind of method we use, it is important also, but not as important as our forecast. Whatever we are sharing with you, in fact, all directed towards to this goal. I would like to share also with you other useful academic articles and reports, which are really interesting to my mind among hundreds that I have in my list of favorite articles. I choose 3 of them, which I'd like to suggest to your attention. The first one in this list, this is the dynamics of energy system and logistic substitution model. This is a report which show how we can use logistic substitution model to predict the energy system future for 50 years. This prediction was done in the end of 70s, and it is interesting up to now to see how it is relevant to the evolution of energy system, not only in worldwide scale, but different countries as well. For me, this was interesting to learn, to be sure that prediction is possible. The second in this list, the article in a scientific journal that helps you to understand the basic, mathematical basic difference between exponential growth and logistic growth, how it is, how do we operate logistic substitution model, and so on. This article probably we will make it available in our course, or you can find it. It is accessible. It is accessible through the internet. You can find it in the internet. And the very important thing that this article, a primer of logistics, was written by people who also developed the web resource that we are going to use in board of our course in order that you can have experience to fit time series, I will show you today this resource that we installed for your attention under the server of NPTEL, and it exists also at the Rockefeller University. And this article from Mr. Marchetti and from Mr. Ausbel, The Quantitative Dynamic of Human Empires. This is a very interesting point of view because it shows us that we can use logistic S-curve not only for technologies, but even to understand growth and decline of different empires. And among dozens of empires, which you can find in this article, which was published in International Journal of Anthropology, you can find also the history about India also. So that's why this is one article that I'd like to suggest for your attention in order to give you some example of usability of logistic S-curve, that this model that you try to learn within this course. Idea from Mr. Marchetti. This is another thinker that I learned a lot from, and this is very interesting physicist who came from nuclear physics to the domain of predicting evolution and future of technical system. He suggested the logistic substitution model. He spent a lot of time in the International Institute of Applied Science Research, which helped to many countries on the policy-making levels. The idea about invention and innovation, in fact, we believe that today everything is going faster. And the idea that you can see on this screen, that the distance between invention and innovation decrease regularly inside of the certain wave, but start larger again in the next wave, led me to understand that, in fact, technologies, they depend on the evolution in economy. In fact, what we believe that today, transition, invention to innovation comes faster, it's not true. It's come faster at a certain period of time of economic evolution, and it becomes longer in the next time. Well, and this is a short illustration. This is a short illustration, numeric illustration of this wave. In fact, Mr. Marchetti, what he did also, he tried to see the line number 1, this is an invention, and the line number 2, innovation. 3, invention, 4, innovation. What he discovered also that the distance between central point is always the same, 55 years. And this is very interesting scientific contribution that helps us for the long-term strategic forecasting. Just to complete my today's part, before answering your question, I'd like to share with you some useful links. The one link, this is a software about which comes from the program of human environment from Rockefeller University. Okay, I'm on my way to open this software and share with you the screen. Okay, we have it on. Okay, let me see why I can't. Okay, I see why I can't. Okay, now I'm able. So in fact, if you click to this link or if you open this link, you will arrive to this screen where you can put your time series data and you can feed and you can extrapolate and you can make your experience. In our following video that you will see in the week number 3, we will share with you some example, but you can use this software for your own experimentation with a time series. Okay, this is the one link that I would like to share with you. Okay, the second one, this is a link to the book which is available online. You don't need to go to the library. You can open this book, and in this book, what you have a collection of quantitative method. Why I'm interested to share this book with you, even this book not for strategic forecasting, but here you can learn about time series graphics, basic things. You can learn about time series regression model. If you have no this basis, you need to look through in order to understand better how do we fit logistic S-curve. In this book, you can find something which will be complementary for our course. Okay. So for me, for today, that's almost all. Before I'm going to start answering your questions. Thank you for attention, and please, what kind of question do we have for today? Let us see.
Okay. May I share the screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Just give me a minute. I have the questions. Some of them have asked some very interesting questions. Please let me know when you can see the screen.
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay. So we have some about 4 or 5 questions for now. There's a 6th one in the blocks also. We'll get to that if time permits. Very, very interesting question. I don't like choosing questions. We'll go in the order that you asked us. So the first question is, in which segment will machine tool industry fall? Fast, medium, or slow paced? As it's
Yeah.
involved in both electronics components and mechanical components, shipbuilding, steel making, and used in automotive segment, cars. This is an excellent question. I would let Professor Dmitry answer this because I had the exact same question. In fact, we have recorded it part of the video as well. Yes, Professor Dmitry, it
Yeah,
will be
may I
great
share my
to hear
screen,
what you
Bala?
have.
Yes, thank you for the
Yeah, please
question.
go ahead.
Yeah, I tried to share my screen, but you have to stop sharing yours, I guess.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, now I'm going to share mine. Okay, good. I believe you see my screen and you already have seen this picture in body of our video. But how do we define? How can we answer this particular question about machine tool industry? Okay. First of all, machine tool industry, we need to identify what is a product of machine tool industry. Simply saying, what is a function? Okay. And if the machine tool industry produce, for instance, tools for for automotive makers, for instance, some special machine or some special tool. So the product, we try to see according to the product. And we see that our product is close to the products which are look like cars or look like bicycle. This is a products which are similar to the products that we have in this list, because this list is not complete list. It cannot list all the industries. But what it lists at least the main group of industries. So in this case, in a short, we can see that if, for instance, for the shipbuilding, we are talking about medium piece industries and airline companies. Steel making by itself, if we are making machine tools industry, make something for the steel making, it's a bit different story, because here we arrive to the group of slow piece industry, where the products, they substitute each other not as fast as it is in for instance electronics. Let me give you some definitions in order to improve answering of this question. Now, on this slide, you can see how do we define the product clock speed, process clock speed, and organization clock speed. The product clock speed usually measured by rates of new products introduction. How often we introduce new product. If I come back to original question about machine tool industry, how often do we introduce new products or intervals between new product generation? Okay, new generation of cars, for instance, on the market appear every 6 years. The process clock speed, we usually measure by capital equipment obsolescence rate. It means when we change our tools and our machines. And organizational clock speed is measured by rate of changes in organizational structure. When we need to change the structure of organization in order to satisfy the business demands. So it was my trial to answering the question. I don't know, is it enough? If you're still in a doubt, just pose your question more specific.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yes, that's exactly what I understood also, Professor Dimitri. So next question we have is, sorry, I think I skipped. So this was the question that was asked: in which segment will machine tool industry fall, given that it's fast, medium, or slow? Okay. So the next question we have is, what are career opportunities in technology management? Is there any option of doing internship in this field? Is the
Could
next
you open
question.
it on the in the shared screen, please?
I have not. I thought I was sharing my screen.
Yeah, you are. Thank you.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was me who was.
I'd like to take a stab at this question to start off, and then I will hand it over to you, Professor Dimitri.
No, it's your question because I have no idea what's happening in India.
Okay.
It's your question,
Well,
Bala.
oh, sure. Okay, then I'd love to take this. The career opportunities are in particularly in technology management would come under innovation management. They're called innovation management. They come under technology transfer office. It's becoming more and more prevalent in the technology incubation as well. Offices also have this position under technology management. And intellectual property is another department which is equally interested in technology management. So if you notice that these terms that you see, technology transfer, technology incubation, or technology, what is I saying, intellectual property, so IP. So these are few departments in any company that would be interested in people with technology management experience. Okay, so but usually, this is my own experience, is that usually people working in technology management are people who have worked with some kind of technology. They have been instrumental in developing some kind of technology itself. So that is one plus if you have it. If you don't, you come from a management sort of perspective, then you will be looked at as a person who understands management, but will be less familiar with technology. So which means you will be need to be brought up to speed on technology itself. So these are the two aspects that you will need to have, skill sets that you will need to have. With so many incubation opportunities in India, I think last I heard it was upwards of 140 or 150 incubation centers in India. Uh, there is a strong need to have managers who will look at not only at what is the technology, but what is the current trend in the industry and where does this fit in. So that's the bigger part of the technology forecasting itself. So um, so that's the first part of the answer, first part of the question. The second part, is there any option in doing internship? I believe companies are hiring. Academia also, by the way, internship is not. I'm sorry. The technology management is not limited to companies alone, but also academic partners, also academic institutions also have incubation, and hence they're also interested in technology management. There are, in fact, tech transfer offices in the US is very, very common. In Europe is very common to have a tech transfer office inside academia. They handle all the IP requests, the intellectual property requests. Even in Indian academia, I find that technology management and in the auspices of intellectual property and incubation is becoming very, very common. It's no longer saying, oh, technology management, the new field. No, no longer that. Nobody even raises an eyebrow. It's seen as part and parcel of the game of incubation itself. So internship, yes, I think there are plenty of opportunities in technology management in industries as well as academia. Academia, I'm not 100% familiar on who all have internships, but incubation centers is a good place to contact if you need to get to understand how technology transfer works, how portfolio management works, technology portfolio management works, how certain centers are focused on a certain theme of technology. Like in Delhi, they have a one dedicated to electronics. I think there are in Pune right here where I and Siddharth are based out of. We have an incubation at very close to Indian Institute of Science and Education Research. In They have a venture center which is has a lot of startups in biology. So they have a life sciences sort of focus in that. So there are theme based incubation centers. So your portfolio, if it matches with them, they'll be happy to have you as an intern as well. Okay, so that's the generic answer. Specifically, we are also planning to collaborate with Rockefeller University, which Professor Dmitry showed you. The software is one sort of thing with collaborating with them. They are also looking for some bright individuals from this course. If you do very well in your course and your resume sort of matches with what we are looking for, we'll be happy to have you as interns from NPTEL for the collaboration with Rockefeller University. So we're definitely looking forward to having you also. If you're interested, please do post. We'll also post in the forum towards the end of the course when we are ready to offer this internship to you. So that's a long answer for a question like this.
Yeah, I'd like just to add the short things.
Please.
Our forecast about opportunity careers for forecaster is the positive one. So that's why we opened this course, in order to help you to succeed.
Yes.
We
Yes,
see,
absolutely.
and why it happens like that, because today we are more limited by resources. We need to advance with our technologies with less failures. So we have to be more precise with forecast. So the forecast for your career opportunity, if you are able to reliably predict, is very, very interesting, very positive in Europe, in all around the world. In your country in particular, because your country is growing well.
Okay. Good to hear
Next
that
question.
from you.
Next question,
Yeah.
please.
Next question is, in making of technology forecasting for strategic decision, we need, what kind of data are we looking for? I will give us a practical view. Will you give us a practical view of how to extract information from that data? Over to you, Professor Dmitry.
Uh, yeah, there is this question, and there is another question that I noticed in our chart: how to avoid biases when we collecting
Yeah,
data.
I think that's
Okay,
the next one.
they're connected. They're connected questions. So that's why I'd like just to share what we use in border of our course in order to do so. In fact, we spent a lot of time within our course in order to give you some tools how to define your system. Because if you properly can define your system, and we suggest you the tool, the system operator, for which to start with which you have to start with definition of the function. This is what we started today's webinar. Okay, you have to define function. And after that, you define not only components of your system, but also what are the systems that need our system to operate. So through the rigorous definition of your system, the one thing, using system operator, you are going to see the system operator even in border of this introductory course. And if you are going to follow the advanced course, you will practice it by itself. We identify what kind of data we need to collect. Because today we have a plenty of data, but the problem is not to have a lot of data, but to have relevant data. We're doing it through the system operator first. And another thing, we use the notion of ideality increase. We measure, we try to elaborate the measurement, not KPI and other things, not key performance indicator and other things. How, in the long run, our system evolution is measured. And through this equation, we make clear what kind of data we are going to collect. Because to plot the logistic curve, we have to decide, for instance, are we going to measure evolution of system by its population? For instance, how many scooters do we have in the Indian market? Or probably we need to measure the efficiency of motors. It is not clear at the beginning. And the answer for this question can be obtained through the application, systematic application of system operator, the law of ideality increase, and contradiction. The contradiction model we also just introduced in board of this course in order to help you. So this is our three tool that we use in order to specify what kind of data we have to collect and in order to reduce biases when collecting the data. I believe I answered as short as possible for this very interesting question and very relevant question. Thank you for your question. Bala, probably you have something to add.
No, I think I asked the same similar question during our recording of the video also. Is we know that experts who look at data are also have a certain bias, certain training in mind, and they go look for that data. So how do we keep ourselves away from that? Is what one of my questions was. And yes, thank you for the answer. I think I don't have anything more to add than what you had already elaborated on.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
maybe move to the next question.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So this is a very interesting question. I found this. How about technology forecasting in space? What is the future of space technology? What changes can come in space technology itself? So
yeah,
I do. Yeah, like do you want to go ahead, please?
Yeah, I do like this. I do like this question. Thank you very much for the question. In fact, in order to forecast the future of space technology, we need to see how those technology serve our economical needs. Because, dear colleagues, we need to state it absolutely clear that whatever technology we try to evolve, it has meaning only if it bring us economic impact. And this explains clearly why, for instance, we landed the first robotic things, robotic machine on the moon so many years ago, but after that we had kind of hole. We did nothing in this. Just we had just satellite on the orbit and just a station, because in fact, first we with the technology we show it's feasible. From point of view of today's technology, it's feasible to send the rockets to the Mars and automatic station and so. But from economic, what is the economic impact of this? And if there is no economic impact, the future of technology is not so positive, let's say like that. Today, we have a lot of launching of satellites because the satellites, they serve our needs, like GPS, okay? Today, we use GPS, collecting the data that helps us to mitigate risk about, floods, earthquake, and other things, helps us to improve our efficiency of agriculture. So those kind of space technology are growing and they are evolving. What change come in a space technology? The space technology, it is a family of technologies. We need to specify the function, what kind of part of this space technology we are talking about. We are talking about just transportation of tourists on the orbit, or we are talking about launching the satellite, which will collect certain data, or we are going interplanetary traveling between Earth, Moon, and Earth and other planets. Once again, what I started with, the technology evolution always tightly connected with economic needs that we have, because each technology cost, and we have to have a payback from our investments. If we have no this, even it is feasible, it will not grow. This was my trial to give some light on this question. Probably I didn't answer fully, but it was a trial. Of course, we can plot it with a logistic curve, number of launches for which purpose, and we can see, we can model it. It's possible to answer. Thank you.
Yeah. So one short answer I have for this also is that even when space organizations all across, whether it's European Space Agency, Indian Space Research Organization, or NASA, they always have to justify how this is useful to society. So that's the first, one of the slides, one of the proposal, one of the factors in the proposal will always be that it has to be that how is it beneficiary to our citizens, because it is the taxpayers money which goes into space technology. They have to be justified. In fact, they're even in other technology you may not have this much justification as much as done in space technology. So yeah, that's definitely something that has to be borne in mind. If you're so that's, I think, our trial to answer this from a technology forecasting science perspective. How
I
do
would
we
like,
use that as something that,
if
yeah.
if you're still in a doubt, if you still have a question, and we have no time within webinar to answer, do not hesitate to push this question into our forum, and we will answer inside of the forum. Is it okay?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
for
yeah,
all
yeah.
our listeners.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I agree with you. I think we may not have time to cover all of your questions. We'll try our
Even
best.
all of them, they're very interesting.
Yes, they are very interesting.
May we
Yes,
see the
absolutely.
next one?
Yeah. We are talking about technology forecasting, new inventions, new innovations, which may replace humans from 30 years from now. So, what will be your forecast for human resources in relation to this? And there's
Mhm.
a subsequent comment to this also from the same person, from the same learner, is that if we are going to go in the path of forecasting, who's going to do the innovation? Who's going to do the invention? Will robots do this? Is this, I guess, is wondering out loud.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for the question. Let us use the same approach that we tried to use for other things. What are the main function of the technologies that today pretend to replace the humans? We can see the data gathering, data analytics. We can see driving the cars. We can see for some repetitive activities. Okay, and in this case, and all of them, all technologies that today are highly mediatized in media, they all depend on the electricity. Simply saying, if I have no electricity, all of those technologies, they are useless. So that's why I don't see any kind of difficulties. Those technologies will be like other technologies, will help human being to be more productive and more efficient. But how it will impact on the human resources? The human resources, in fact, in the coming 30 years will become more educated. We will have more time to grow our knowledge. We will have more time to creativity, to have creative tasks rather than to have some repetitive task. For instance, if you will need to move from one place to another place, within a time of transportation, you don't need to drive your vehicle. The vehicle will be driven, and you can use this time to learn one more language, foreign language, to communicate with another part of the world, to learn something from other people, or to learn another kind of science, or to develop new mathematical models about our universe. This is exactly what we benefit from the technologies, because, and this is a trend that we can observe since from the beginning of Industrial Revolution. We have more free time thanks to the technologies. And of course, it's up to us. How do we spend this time? Are we playing the games after which we are tired? Or we are trying to learn something new, which can improve us and our environment? Okay, this was my trial to suggest my point of view about this comment. Did I answer the question? I don't want. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I was saying very interesting that we always think of humans to be replaced. We're always in that fear that, oh, robots are going to rule, or like all the movies talk about this particular doomsday, when after which all the humans won't be necessary. But I agree with you. All the data also seem to suggest that we will all the repetitive tasks are going the machine way, and there in fact, someday when we get the chance to talk about it, Professor Matt Ridley from Oxford University talks about this particular and Hans Rosling, which we talked about even in the last webinar, talk about how much time we have been able to save just by, in the last 100 years, such a drastic change we have had, and so much of our other pursuits we could have because of this saved time. I totally agree with Professor Dmitry on this.
Yeah.
The next question. Oh, I did have it.
Yeah, this will be the really last question, because we are running out of the time.
Okay, so this is one last question. Bear with me while I refresh this. I had the questions typed out. Let me just bear with me for a minute while I bring this up
No
again.
problem.
So the next question talked about Tesla, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, about Tesla. And may I give my comments about Tesla?
Yeah, sure. You can start off before.
Yeah,
while I get this up.
the question is the following. In India, we heard that Tesla Inc. will be coming. So what action should Indian companies or startup should do from now so that to keep competitive advantages our Tesla Inc. corporation? First of all, first of all, don't worry so much. Just put numbers. Just put numbers, but not in dollars, but just put numbers in number of vehicles. And if you look to the number of vehicles of Tesla in the worldwide market for today, you will be surprised that it is still much less than 10% of the market. It's even less than 10% of the market, even in the United States. We need just to use the data in order not to be biased by media, okay, not to be biased by advertising. In order to answer this question, what I suggest you to do, take just number of Tesla products on the market at United States and Europe, and you will see how they are big. And if they come to the to India, okay, it will take time for growth. And of course, it depends also on creativity of other companies, which will suggest what they are going to suggest. What Tesla is going to suggest on the market of India? This is a question. We need to clearly measure it. When we measure, we can manage. If we don't measure, we are in a trap of advertising. This is my suggestion for Indian startup companies to choose their strategy. Bala, can you add something or?
Yes. So it always is very interesting to have play different companies, different segments of industries to get in, and we will see that more and more manufacturing and design and sale becoming fragmented and collaborative. Also, the way companies have been collaborating with each other in the past, it's no longer easy to say, oh, this company is from this country. Okay, so I find it very let's say narrow-minded to think Indian company and Western companies. No longer is that distinction even valid anymore. Many companies have offices all across. Or multinational company is a term that was used in the 90s to differentiate between the fact that they're homegrown, as in from Indian soil, to which are outside. But we are no longer able, just like Indian citizens versus people who lived outside, is how can we make that distinction? It's a very narrow view of the world. So I feel that if Tesla comes in and wants to expand, they should be welcomed, and there'll be a lot of collaboration. There'll be a lot of things, other companies also coming up to that, and they are already. I mean, as we speak, people are working on electric cars. This technology is out there. It's actually 110 years old, but still, anyway, this has got the, like what Professor Dmitry observed, it's got the media buzz now. It's 110 years late, but it's still caught it now. And suddenly, if the threat is there, that's actually not real, because if you look at data, it's been very, very gradual. Logically, it's been going. If you have been keeping track, disruption doesn't make any sense. It's a logical progression of technology itself. So I would say, welcome technology and welcome other countries. They're all going to be collaborative, and world is a playground. Everybody has to collaborate. That's how we can survive in companies. We can survive in universities. So that's a bit from what I have.
I just would like to suggest, think about batteries. In fact, the batteries, this is a core technology of electric cars. And now this technology is really very, very limited. If we don't solve the problem about new source of electric energy for cars, if it will be still the same batteries, we simply have not enough rare materials all around the world, not only in India, in order to produce enough batteries. Just think from this point of view. Thank you very much for your question. Thank you very much for participating in our webinar. And I hope that you enjoy our course, even it was done in a lockdown condition, a bit more rough that we would like to do it. And please, if we didn't answer your question, put them into the forum. We look through the forum and we will try to answer them in the forum. And I hope to see you next week at our webinar. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for the very interesting questions. For people whose questions have not been answered through this, we'll either carry it over to the next week or through the post it on the forum. We'll be happy to answer them there. Your question keep us our thinking fresh, and we know what message was received and what is not clear. It gives us a clear feedback, straight feedback to us. Thanks from Professor Dmitry, Siddharth, and myself. Signing off for the week. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Hello.